What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So just a few hours ago, a recent report dropped that apparently it seems like Xbox passed up on the opportunity to actually have a deal with Marvel Games. In fact, this is actually quite shocking because for the longest time, I'm sure that there were numerous assumptions that just kind of thought that Sony had the exclusive rights to the Spider-Man game IP. But apparently that's not necessarily what has been the case. In fact, just recently, a tweet summarizing this event from IGN pretty much goes ahead to quote Jae Ung, who is the executive vice president and head of Marvel Games. In this tweet, the IGN writer quotes him saying, "I pinged both sides, both Xbox and PlayStation, and said, we don't have any big console deals with anyone right now. What would you like to do?" Microsoft's strategy was to focus on their own IP. They passed Marvel Games. Now, this is a huge revelation because I know many might say, well, it's a good thing that, Xbox did not get their hands on this. It gave Sony the strong position. Or some might even say it's a good thing that Microsoft passed on this because nobody really wants exclusives. But the truth is, this has shown itself to actually been a missed opportunity because right now, we're hearing rumors that Warner Brothers Games is probably shopping around for who's going to be the next buyer. And the rumors are saying that both Sony and Microsoft are interested. So if Microsoft is in a position where they're saying they don't necessarily want to do the exclusivity deal, it appears to me that they're pursuing potential IPs that will give them an exclusive position. I think their public sentiment is to present this paradigm that they're not necessarily in pursuit of these exclusivity deals, but in their actions and a lot of their acquisitions, we're seeing that that's probably where things are going to lean. I mean, they basically acquired ZeniMax for $7 billion. They're looking towards acquiring Activision for a lot of money. And I don't necessarily think that this would mean all those games are just going to be cross-party games after all the investment that Xbox and Microsoft is making. Now, the conversation spans even further than all of this. Think about it. Sony has always been outright that they want to make exclusive games for their platforms. They're not pretending. They're not trying to say, well, it's a struggle. They're basically making it known every time they make announcements, every time they talk about their video games that they're developing, and even with their new subscription service, they said that they're not necessarily in the place where they want to bring their day one releases to their subscription platform because they believe it's going to reduce the quality of their games. So they're fully committed to this, and it appears that Microsoft is in a position where they're just probably playing catch up because Sony already kind of understood this principle and makes it a priority for them to have single player games in development at any given development cycle or whenever their studios have the time to actually start development. What's even crazier is Insomniac developed the Sunset Overdrive game for Microsoft, and Microsoft basically didn't do anything to, in a sense, try to acquire this studio. I don't know exactly why. Maybe they didn't necessarily see themselves as working together. This usually happens, but Sony was successful in having the studio come under their wings and start making these games. And now with Marvel Games being on Sony's side with the PlayStation exclusives that you're saying for the most part, not necessarily 100%, it appears to me that Microsoft might want to match this by trying to acquire Warner Brothers Entertainment in regard to the games. That's Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. But we don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. And another really interesting side of this entire conversation is single player games have proven to be the best bet. Sony made that bet a long time ago, even though they were sponsoring and still supporting all kinds of different developers that would make games that are not necessarily tuned for that kind of audience. Sony understood that if they had a good library, they could push out their consoles and maintain their dominance in the market. For some strange reason, I don't believe Microsoft gave an equal or at least a similar push to compete in that area. And now we're seeing the results and we're seeing the rewards. Sony has reaped a lot of the benefits over the past generation. They seem to want to continue that trend into this generation, and I don't think they're basically trying to stop. In fact, they've even expanded onto the PC platform, bringing some of their own IPs to the territory that's kind of close to Microsoft's own territory, but not necessarily there, because on PC, if you look at Steam, they're basically number one, and then Game Pass is number two in terms of providing digital video game services for gamers at large. But I think this is something that's really cool to see. And finally, it brings us to the point where we say, if you think about a lot of these video games, single player games are still in a sense very dominant. They have a side of things to play, and superhero games, as much as some people may feel like they can be be tiring or overly hyped, they still hold a very special place in the minds of gamers. But that's pretty much my own analysis on this particular issue. As more and more things get unveiled, we'll be able to check them out and actually dive in. But this is really interesting just to find out. So thanks so much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk in another one. Peace out.